Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining, getting set up here. I'm so happy that you are here today and here to learn about the fertility gap. So let's get rolling. I am Olivia, if you guys do not know me, and I am the founder of Let's Get Real RD and functional fertility dietitian, where I help couples get real answers to get them real pregnant. I do this by using a functional approach to fertility, which we'll learn all about today and how it can resolve what I have called the fertility gap. We're going to learn if you're in the gap and what you can do to get out of it. So, functional fertility really means to address your individual root causes that may be leading to infertility or subfertility, which I actually prefer, and really correcting those with diet, lifestyle, and targeted supplementation in order to help you conceive naturally. So we'll be talking all about that and more. Let's dive in. So as an overview here, we will start out by addressing, I like to share my story and how it relates to the fertility gap and how I actually discovered the fertility gap through my own story and experience. I'm going to address how functional fertility bridges that gap and also talk about the 3-pillar approach, which is how we address your fertility issues in order to get you the results you're looking for, which is a natural conception or the most optimal success, no matter what direction you are headed. A couple statistics before we get going here. I like to always just start off with this one, that 15 to 30% of couples will be diagnosed with this term, unexplained infertility. Now, unexplained infertility is 1 full year of trying to conceive or 6 months if you're over the age of 35. Normally, there's some tests done to accompany this, right? After maybe a semen analysis, an ovulation assessment, of course, some basic hormone testing, checking for ovarian reserve, etc. But really, I have this in quotes for a reason, and you'll see why later. Remember that unexplained infertility is quoted here and air quoted as well, because we're going to break that down. We're going to explain that and how it can be explained. Unexplained infertility is what I like to call a blanket diagnosis. It covers a lot of things under that one label that need to be addressed. So this is an important one to start off with, and understanding really kind of how unexplained infertility is not an answer. It's really a label that can be addressed. The second statistic I like to point out is that men and women are equally as likely to have problems with fertility. This means it's a team effort. We are thankfully understanding more in the science about male infertility, as historically it's been placed a lot on the females. And obviously, for good reason, we have a lot of responsibility in the puzzle here, right? We carry the child, we birth the child. But men and their contribution is very important. We're learning more and more about that. And so when I talk about fertility, I'm talking about both men and women. All right. So very important there to understand. And really just when we're addressing fertility and trying to conceive journey, that it is a partnership, right? It's not just on one person or the other. So I want to start with my story, as again, this really was a discovery of the fertility gap. And my story really starts with a pretty maybe boring beginning. I don't have a very exciting journey when it comes to my health. Well, I didn't think I did. I've always been healthy, thankfully. I got into nutrition because it was a passion of mine, not because it helped me reverse any illness or disease like many registered dietitians their story may include, which is incredible and it's so inspirational. I always kind of felt like, I don't know, I don't have a story like that. I don't have any issues. I've never had any problems with my weight or hormones or anything. So in fact, in 2018, it wasn't until 2018 when I decided to take a Dutch test. And I just did this for fun because it was available at the clinic that I was working at. And just to see how amazing my hormones were, really. I like to play around with functional diagnostic testing because I use them in my practice. And I like to make sure that what I do on my clients is also something that I understand for myself. So the Dutch test has nothing to do with testing for Dutch heritage, as it may appear. This is an acronym that stands for Dried Urine Test for Comprehensive Hormones. It's a urine test, and it's something that I use quite frequently in my practice. So again, I took this just because why not? I always want to learn more, but I have no issues with my hormones. I always had a regular period, never had any cramps, never had any acne problems, no issues whatsoever. I never understood when my friends in high school had to stay home from school with painful periods or heavy bleeding. I just didn't really get it. On the slide here is an actual picture of Dutch hormone test results. And so this is something that, I get and review. And when I got mine back, I was shocked. I actually, I know how to read it, interpret it. It looks a little bit like hieroglyphics if you don't, but I looked at it right away and saw a lot of concerning points. And I actually had the immediate thought that this is not my results. The lab got it mixed up. I got someone else's results back. And, this can't be mine. Again, I never had any issues. So when it came back, actually with some results that were quite concerning, I was in disbelief. The results showed a couple main things. It showed that one, I was not ovulating. So for any of you that are familiar with that and why that's important, if you're not ovulating, you are not going to be able to get pregnant. Because I wasn't ovulating, I was producing zero progesterone. Progesterone is literally called the progestation hormone, meaning you have to have it in order to foster the needs of a growing baby. And number 3, I had something called high androgens. And these are typically thought of as male hormones like testosterone. So collectively, those symptoms pointed to something like PCOS. And if you're familiar with that acronym, that's polycystic ovarian syndrome. I thought, that's not me. I don't have PCOS. PCOS is historically connected with weight issues, acne, maybe even a high sugar diet or high carbohydrate diet, or just your body's not able to process those correctly. And I thought, well, I'm a dietitian. I think I know how to eat. I have always been healthy. I was always that weirdo that brought along my own food with me and even went to bed early because I knew that the health benefits of that were so strong. So, I was really shocked. Basically what these labs told me is that if I wanted to get pregnant at that point, it would have been near impossible. And I had no idea. Why would I think otherwise? I had a regular period every 28 to 30 days, no problems, right? Crazy. So I was actually even super careful, right? In, my younger days, I thought I was very fertile. My mom had 5 kids. So I thought, well, clearly I'm going to have no problem and it's going to be super easy for me. So I got to be really careful, right? Well, it turns out it wouldn't have happened anyway. So I took these results into my gynecologist. I made an appointment and I said, oh my gosh, I need to explore this further. I took them in. I asked for further testing. I expressed my concerns and was really surprised and really hurt when I was basically told that these results mean nothing and I don't need to pursue further testing and that everything's fine. And that if I wanted to do anything, then I could go on birth control. And to me, I did not like that answer. I thought that was very dismissive. I didn't feel heard. And birth control is not an answer in my book. I'd never been on birth control. I wasn't going to start now whenever I'm trying to, possibly start a family in the next couple years. So at that point, I actually went back to a functional medicine practitioner who I was working for at the time. And indeed, she confirmed that it was a PCOS representation. Even though I didn't present with the classical signs, I was not ovulating and I needed to change some things in my diet and lifestyle and environment in order to address this if I wanted to balance out those hormones and eventually get pregnant. So this was really, it was really a journey for me because, again, I was always healthy. And here's those air quotes again, right? Healthy. I had never been unhealthy in terms of any diagnoses or my diet. I was always very healthy. I was very conscious of my diet and my nutrition and my exercise. So it took me a little bit to understand that healthy does not mean healthy for your hormones. Okay, so I was eating healthy, but I was not eating healthy for my hormones. So I made some adjustments in my diet. I made some adjustments in my lifestyle. And upon retesting, my Dutch results actually show that I corrected all of those things that were out of balance. So very powerful information here. And the big thing about it is, looking back retrospectively, I realized that if I had not done that Dutch test by accident, or just by, on a whim, that whenever I was trying to conceive, whenever I was at that point in my life, I would have no idea why it wasn't happening, right? I would have no idea why it wasn't working. I would have fallen in the fertility gap because I start not expecting anything to be an issue. I am healthy. I have no problems. And I would have fallen into this gap, not knowing what to do or where to turn because I was doing everything right already. And then potentially at the end of that gap, or the other side of that gap, I would have been recommended to do something like IVF or IUI. When in reality, information that I gathered bridged that gap and prevented me from falling into a time period, maybe that unexplained infertility diagnosis, right? So that is really what led me to explore this idea of the fertility gap. And the fertility gap is something that I myself would have fallen into, and I see many women and couples fall into, because conventional medicine, meaning, doctors that we normally go to for checkups or fertility treatments or gynecologists, they don't have the capacity or the capability in terms of time or training to detect and treat hidden root causes to unexplained infertility. Remember, it's only unexplained if we don't have an explanation, and explanation requires diving deeper. So this leads to years of trying to conceive without proper support, couples feeling like they've done everything, and the only option left is something like IVF. Okay. Right away, I want to point out I have nothing against IVF. IVF is wonderful for many couples and helps them to have a family. The great thing about addressing the fertility gap and understanding if you are in fertility gap is that there is a bridge that can either connect your beginning of your journey to a natural conception as your outcome, or it can connect the beginning of your journey and your struggles to supporting an IVF journey better than if you did not bridge the gap. So what is the bridge? Functional fertility is the bridge. And what are we talking about here, right? Functional fertility is that bridge of the gap that can prevent you from falling into that maybe year of trying to conceive, or years of trying to conceive, or jumping into fertility treatments before you have looked at other explanations. A lot of people I see come to me when everything is normal. Another air quotes. Everything's normal. The labs that they have done at their doctors, everything is normal. And that is very frustrating. It can be very confusing whenever there's no answers and you feel like you have done everything and the only thing to then do is go to fertility treatment. So what is functional fertility and how does it bridge that gap? Functional fertility is a practice of explaining your unexplained infertility. This gives you the power over your own fertility journey and improves your health and the health of your future family, no matter how that comes about. So what do I mean by that? By no matter how that comes about? Again, if a natural conception is right for you, will actually improve the health of yourself, your partner, and your pregnancy, actually impacting the health of your child into adulthood. If IVF is right for you, functional fertility, meaning diet, lifestyle, and targeted supplementation changes, when guided with proper testing, can actually decrease the cycles of IVF that need to be performed. On average, it takes 3 cycles of IVF at $15,000 to $30,000 a pop in order to achieve a pregnancy. Functional fertility can actually decrease that by half. So it's pretty powerful. And that's what I mean by no matter how that comes about, no matter how your family comes about, because they're all really legitimate ways of starting a family. We just have to support them. So functional fertility is not to replace, I like to also say this caveat, functional fertility is not to replace your doctor, but instead to complement it. Okay? Your doctor is often looking at the what, the end picture. What is your infertility? What is your PCOS? What does that have to do with your infertility, your irregular periods, and correcting those with maybe a medication? Functional fertility looks at the why. Why do you have infertility? Why do you have PCOS? Why do you have irregular periods? Correcting the source or the root cause, which changes your outcome, bridges that gap. Okay, so this is very, very important distinguishing factor here. Much different method behind explaining your unexplained infertility. Unexplained infertility, again, is a blanket diagnosis. We dive deeper than that. So really, no matter where you are on your fertility journey, can support you. If you're just starting out, it takes 3 months in order to change your hormones and your egg quality to produce a different outcome. It takes 64 days to change the quality of sperm health. Quality of sperm health is oftentimes more important than quantity. So remember that. Not tested on standard sperm analysis. If you're having trouble conceiving, maybe you've been on the road for 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, better testing can help you get answers, just like the Dutch test did for me. If you've experienced recurring miscarriages, targeted nutrition and supplementation can change your outcome. And if you're preparing for IVF, egg quality has to be optimal. Sperm quality has to be optimal. So committing to that 3-month period of time can, again, reduce the number of cycles that you have to do in IVF by half. So how does functional fertility do this? It's based on two premises. The first one is one-on-one care. A functional approach is not possible without individual customization to each couple's story. There is never a one-size-fits-all approach, and time is not limited by insurance restraints like most other practitioners. This freedom allows the ability to find hidden root causes of subfertility and to support your unique journey. This is very important. Functional fertility requires a relationship that is formed between the practitioner and the client. This relationship cannot be formed in a 10-minute visit, which is the average length of time that you get with your doctor because of insurance. Insurance puts a restraint on the time they can spend with you. It's not their fault. They cannot spend more time with you based on the model that insurance has dictated. I cannot help people the way that I do by complying with insurance regulations. Believe me, I have tried. I have tried everything possible. It doesn't work. One-on-one care cannot be replaced, cannot be taken out of the equation. That is how we change your story and bridge that gap. Another way that we address functional fertility is to, again, look at those root causes, okay? Finding your root causes takes time. Again, cannot be done in 10-minute visits. On average, appointments are 45 to 60 minutes long between the time it takes to prep for that. I actually look over a comprehensive 5-page intake form from you, begin to create a customized plan for you, the time that we spend on a visit together, and also the time following up in between appointments. I never leave you hanging. It's always a relationship that we work on together. Subfertility root causes can be any of these outlined here and more. These take time to diagnose. These take time to figure out. But understanding these is very important to bridge that gap. Even just starting out, I start with thyroid disorder, and 99% of the time, women come to me and they've had their thyroid tested. So they think it's normal, it's not my thyroid, move on. Unfortunately, 99% of the time, you have not had a full workup done that is necessary to get you an accurate diagnosis. Undiagnosed or ill-treated thyroid disease is a huge, maybe one of the top subfertility root causes that is hidden, and many women have not gotten to the bottom of it. All the way down to hormone imbalances that are not detected by standard testing. Again, standard testing where you go and get a blood draw at your doctor's office 1 day a month to test your progesterone or estrogen is not adequate enough. Advanced hormone testing is needed to get to root causes and understand why you are having trouble, to bridge the gap. We're diving deeper. We're going into the gap, or oftentimes we can bridge the gap altogether. I like to share a few testimonies because testimonies are very powerful. These are on my website. You can actually see their stories. Many of these women, I think all of these women, have done a Zoom session with me to talk about their story and really share their experience. And I like to share these three because they represent different women at different points in their journey. Heather in the middle with Baxter, baby Baxter there, who, oh my gosh, she's so stinking adorable. She was on her trying to conceive journey for many years. She had 5 miscarriages, 2 failed IUIs, 2 failed IVF. And at the age of 45, she thought that natural conception was not going to be for her. She had already actually gone to the other side of the gap, right? She had tried IVF. She came back and decided to rewire her path. And after months of working together, she was able to naturally conceive and have Baxter here. Lindsay and Jay, Lindsay suffered from a severe case of post-birth control syndrome, meaning she was never able to get off birth control and regain a natural and healthy period. And so, of course, conceiving is difficult if you do not have a healthy period, or you obviously can't get off of birth control. So we helped her regain her period and actually talk through when the best time for her to conceive in the month was. And now they're expecting any day now, as of August 2020, with their baby girl. And Daryl and Jeff. Daryl came to me, super healthy, young, fit, active woman, and she really was confused, right? Just like my story. I take care of myself. I don't know why, I don't know what's going on. Everything's normal. I don't know what to do. So for her, we had to really change a lot in her digestion. She had some hidden digestive issues. Not that she felt anything in her digestion, but taking a root cause approach, understanding how all these symptoms are correlated and systems are correlated, we actually really focused on her digestion and her gut health to improve and actually have them conceive naturally. And they are due January of 2021. Just had something fall over there. Okay. So the second part of why we do and how functional fertility works is the 3-pillar approach. 3-pillar approach is outlined here. You can see there on the left. By addressing one pillar at a time, you and your partner can uncover hidden root causes to your fertility struggles to optimize your fertility over the course of 3 months. Again, why 3 months? It takes 3 months to change your egg quality, to change your hormones, and to reset other systems like your gut, and your immune health, etc. So it takes time for your body to actually make these changes, but the body is capable of incredible healing when we give it the right tools. 3 months is no time at all. If you have been really in the gap and struggling with this, not having any answers or direction to go, 3 months of guided treatment plan, understanding exactly why you're making the changes you are, is a really powerful amount of time. And so let's dive into this 3-pillar approach and talk about them individually. So pillar number 1 is called the non-negotiables, and this is all about rebuilding your foundation. A lot of times women, anyone, we skip this step, male, female. We do not focus on the non-negotiables. And if that isn't addressed, then we can be deep into that gap and not realize why we're struggling because you didn't build your foundation up properly. You can be eating all of the healthy foods you want. You could be taking all of the expensive prenatals and green juices and probiotics you want, but if you aren't absorbing them and utilizing them, if you aren't sleeping well, if your energy is tanked, you're experiencing fatigue, then they're not going to be much help to you. So number 1, we start at rebuilding your foundation. Pillar number 2 is called depleted to repleted, and it's all about filling your tank. After and only after we've rebuilt your foundation, we can actually begin to fill your tank. We do this by addressing hormones, specific nutrients that you may have been deficient in or not absorbing well, addressing gut health, and something called your adrenals. Your adrenals are responsible for handling your stress system in your body as well as hormone production. This is a very important pillar and resonates with a lot of women who feel like they've been doing everything right, but they're not getting the results that they are wanting. Pillar number 2, can address that. And then we finally arrive at pillar number 3, fertile grounds. And this is where we have permission to thrive. Permission to thrive is where we put your new body to the test. You have changed your story. You have changed the way that your body is digesting and utilizing nutrients, creating energy, supporting mitochondrial health, which actually relates to your ovaries. We've changed sperm health in 64 days, and we have an entire different system or systems to work with to produce a different outcome. Now, many times women connect differently with different pillars, and that's why they all exist in cohesion together. But for Heather, for example, she really, really resonated with pillar number 2. And after we had our, initial assessment, which is 45 to 60 minutes long, understanding her life, understanding what she was going through. She is a successful artist who traveled the country on the road, doing, she had a very busy and fulfilled life. Of course, she was handling it with such grace and ease because she's a kick-ass woman, like many of you are, and we just take it and run with it and we rock it. However, she didn't realize the stress she was putting on her adrenals. Remember, that's part of pillar 2. We nourished her adrenals. We changed the way that her body responded to stress, and we were able to actually get her body out of what is called fight or flight mode, or what I like to call no place for a baby mode, and into rest and digest mode, aka welcome baby mode. So we flipped the switch between those modes, changing her story. Again, remember, she had multiple miscarriages, failed IUI, failed IUF. We changed her system to change her outcome. For Daryl, pillar number 1 was huge because it was rebuilding her foundation. She was one of those women that, pillar number 2, she was already filling her tank. She had great, systems in place. She ate well. She had great stress management techniques. She had a fulfilling relationship and career, but she was not utilizing those. Her body was not able to actually take those good inputs and utilize them correctly. Rebuilding her foundation by addressing low stomach acid and gut health, which she actually thought was GERD or high stomach acid, really changed her story. This is how symptoms like GERD or heartburn or fatigue or food sensitivities or seasonal allergies can actually be associated with deeper issues going on. And of course, how unexplained infertility is also a symptom, just like those I just mentioned. It's a symptom to something else going on. And that's what we find out in the pillars. For Lindsay and Jay, hers was pillar number 3 by far. She had a hard time trusting and believing in her body's ability to regulate her periods, to regulate her hormones, and to naturally conceive. She was very nervous and very uneasy about going off the pill because she had so many unsuccessful attempts before that it was very unnerving to her, and she didn't really know how to proceed. She felt like she was stuck. So Permission to Thrive was a game changer for her. So this is why these pillars are built the way that they are, in the order that they are, and in the emphasis that they are. When we do our one-on-ones, remember, this all comes back to the one-on-ones, we are diving into which pillar is going to be more helpful for you, but all pillars really work together. And one of these women actually coined my functional fertility program as a leave no stone left unturned approach. And I love this. And so I always make sure to include this because it really encompasses exactly what functional fertility is, the idea and the essence of functional fertility. If you are in that gap, if you are in the fertility gap, this is what you are looking for. Women and couples want to feel like they have left no stone left unturned. And that's exactly what we do in functional fertility. No matter what happens at the other side of that gap, when we bridge that gap or come out of that gap and then walk over that bridge, you need to have the confidence and empowerment to feel and to believe that you have done everything you can to support your body and your fertility. That is exactly what functional fertility does. Again, whether natural conception is right for you at that moment, then we will know that we have done everything we can to optimize your chances of conceiving naturally. If IVF is needed, which oftentimes it's not at the end of this, we know that you have optimized your egg quality, your sperm quality, your stress, your hormones in order to have successful outcomes and likely have decrease in the rounds of IVF that you need. A leave no stone left unturned approach is what functional fertility is about. So how do you get started? If you are wanting to get started, what do you do? How can you go about this? Number one, and maybe the most important one, check with your partner. Talk to your partner, show him this short webinar, and talk to him about being on board. Remember, it's a team effort. We will talk about sperm health. We will talk about lifestyle. You guys will be changing the way that you eat together. You will be changing the way that your nighttime routine together. Okay? This is important. Teamwork is the only way that this will work. And it's a team between you, your partner, and your practitioner. Number two, you can schedule your free discovery call to see which program is best for you and if you're a good fit via the link in my Instagram bio. So if you are interested, you can go over and click on the link to schedule that free call. I always talk to people on the phone because honestly, not everyone is a good fit. Not everyone is a good fit for the program, and that's what we talk about on the call. That's what we decide if you are a good fit. If you are accepted, I will have you begin a comprehensive intake assessment. Again, this is a 5-page intake assessment, so we can hit the ground running. We know exactly what we need to start on our first visit, get your labs ordered, and get us working on the 3-pillar approach to optimize your fertility, which is the last step. Okay, so that is how you want to get started. Instagram, if you don't follow me, I'm at infertility.nutrition. Go to my link in bio and grab a free discovery call. Why are some people not a good fit? This is why. If you are not willing to learn, no one can help you. And if you are determined to learn, no one can stop you. I love this quote, and it's very fitting for functional fertility. If you feel like you've done everything right, if you feel like you eat healthy and there's nothing you can change, and you work out, you do all the things, then this isn't a fit for you. If you're willing to learn, just like I had to learn that I was not eating healthy for my hormones, and I had to change things in my diet, even though this is my career, this is my field that I have a profession in, and that I am, I don't like the word expert, but that I am passionate about, then it stands to reason that with the right test and with the right information, we can always change something to improve our outcome. However, if you don't want to change anything, then likely not a program for you. I don't want to waste your time. I don't want to waste your money. If you are determined to learn, no one can stop you. There's no telling what can happen and what doors this can open for you and how this changes your outcome in your pregnancy journey. So if you are willing to learn, go ahead, grab a link in a bio, and we will learn together based off of your individual root causes that we dive into after doing appropriate testing, appropriate intake assessment, dietary assessment, etc. So thank you for your time. That's actually all I have for you. I hope you learned a lot and maybe get you thinking, am I in the fertility gap? What do I need to do to get out of that? Do I want to get out of it? Ask yourself those questions. Talk to your partner about it. If you feel like you're in that gap or you want to avoid that gap altogether, then I think it's worth scheduling a call and talking about it and discussing what program option would be good for you or most beneficial for you. If you're on your journey and you feel good, great. I love that. That's excellent. But many women, and if you are that woman, you know what it feels to be in that gap. Just like I 100% am convinced that I would have been in the same gap if I hadn't randomly done that Dutch test back in 2018 and found that I was not able to get pregnant if I had wanted to. And I had no idea about it. I had no idea, no symptoms to tell me otherwise. Thank you for your time. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. And I look forward to seeing you on a discovery call or over on my Instagram at infertility.nutrition.